All right, so we're going to start off with our at ease position, our facings, our instruments up and instruments down, and I think that covers all of it. So essentially in place movements today. We're going through everything that you have to do as members of this marching band without actually moving anywhere on the field. So I'm going to start off by giving a little bit of a demo. Katie is going to demonstrate for us. I'm going to give her commands. Just watch what she does, and afterwards we're going to break it down, explain what each move is in time with that individual move. And that was great. All right, so Katie 10, hut. Katie 10, hut. Left face. Left face. Right face. Right face. Step forward, about face. Katie, about face. Katie, about face. Katie, at ease. Katie, 10, hut. Katie, instruments up. Katie, left face. Katie, left face. Katie, about face. Katie, right face. Katie, instruments down. Katie, about Katie, about face. Katie, at ease. Check it out. Thank you, Katie, for demonstrating that. We're going to give Katie a round of applause. Awesome. All right, so again, actually, sorry. No, that was my mistake. Okay. Ignore the step forward about face. We'll get to that at a later summer session. That was my bad. Go ahead.
All right, so her at ease position obviously has that like hand in the back of your like small of the back. At all times, no matter what, playing, just marching without music, you have a 1,000-yard stare. You pick a point down the field on the bleachers. No smiling whatsoever. Nothing's supposed to bother you. I know. Yeah. Okay. So you can see at ease, hand in the back here. Your right arm is going to be a 90-degree angle at all times when your instrument is down. Whether that's marching forward, backwards, we're not getting to that today, but at all times, 90-degree angle. Her horn slide is perpendicular to the ground, so it's going to create a nice little cross there. All right, I'm going to call Katie to attention. Katie 10, hut, rest, 1, 2. Okay. So her response to my Katie 10 hut is 1, 2, and at that point, you bring your left leg up, parallel to the ground, 90 degrees, and you kind of let from your knee down, dangle. Toe has to be extremely pointed to the ground. We don't want it kicking out. We don't want a flamingo foot. Just let it dangle from the knee down. Then she places it down, 1, 2. And that's a little kick out. We're not kicking your brother in the face or anything like that. We're literally just doing a little like, hoorah, little kick, okay? And when your feet are together, I like to think of it as I should be able to fit a slice of pizza between your feet. Okay? Slice of pizza. Okay.
45 degrees out.
Or 45 degrees. 45 degrees or a piece of pizza. All right. Oh, and also that arm, when you go 1, 2. Rest 1, 2. God, I'm so sorry, you guys. When it's rest 1, 2, that arm from the back will dangle to the left. Nothing specific with it. Just let it drop, let it dangle. Everybody okay? We'll break.
So if we're doing it by the numbers, on rest, your arm comes down at the same time that your leg comes up.
Just immediately.
Rest, 1, 2. So it's kind of like on the one hand, a little bit, and then you're that little bit. Okay? So then, your feet are starting here. And if you're going to do a right face, you're going to pick up your right toe, that's the direction you're going, and you're going to pick up your left heel, and you're going to spin to your right. So then your right foot will be exactly where it needs to be, and your left foot will join it. So So the counts for that, if you're here, if I say, Katie, right face, 1, 2. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a simple 1, 2. This isn't like a count on its own. It's just to help you turn better. So 1 is your turn, 2 is your feet come together.
You'll make sure when you're turning, you keep your arm solid with you. Don't lead with your horn when you turn. Everything moves in one motion together.
For that one, like in particular, something that they'll be looking at is horn control. And so, like as you're learning it, just like have it in your brain that when you do like this, like engage your bicep. So when you're turning, everything's just like solid. Just have it in your brain that you're gonna have to be like engaged, so that like this doesn't happen.
At all times, your instrument is attached to your upper body. Whatever your upper body is doing, whether you're like actually marching and playing on the field, or if you're doing a lateral slide or a horn slide that we'll get to later in the summer, anytime your upper body is doing something and facing one direction, that's exactly what your horn is doing. So when you're doing a facing, your horn moves, your forearm is glued to your lower hip, like right here, upper hip. And just think of it as like you're a turret. You're like a turret gun and you're rotating on your hips. And that arm stays fixed at all times. So that was a really good explanation. Thank you. Anything else about face? Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
So the logic, obviously, when you're turning your right face, the logic is the same for your left face, and you basically just want to keep your heel planted for wherever you're turning. So if I'm turning my left heel is what's planted because that's where I'm going, and I'm just joining the heel, and that puts a slice right there. So finally, for your about face, once more, your left foot is going to be planted, your right foot is going to come behind. So behind your foot and a little bit to the left, because that's your goal. Your goal is now your toe, and you're going to spin it. So, yeah, the counts. Katie, about, face, 1, 2. It's the same 2-count move as everything else, but this time you're preparing instead of just turning on one. You're preparing on one, and you're moving together on 2. So once more, Katie, about, face, 1, 2. Anything else that defines that a little bit?
So when we do those turns in like a big block band, they might be calling out cardinal directions. So they'll either give you some left faces, right faces, about faces, but they can also call out a west face, an east face, north face, or south face. The home side of the stadium is west. West, east, north, south. Okay? Let's make sure we're covering that over because that's probably going to be called out a lot.
Yep.
And then we're going to give an example of tempo turns.
Yes. Okay, so I'll demonstrate that real quick. Katie, do you mind? Good? So, like, right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, so sometimes you'll hear an about face or left face or right face called out with subdivisions in the counts. So I could call out Katie, right face,
1, 2.
and she's subdividing in her head as she's counting through the rhythm that I'm giving to her. So halfway through is Katie about, and that's how she automatically sets where that tempo is going to be in her head. So I'm not going to mess with any. Anyway, so again, that's usually going to come out in 6s, that 3s and 6s. That's a nice, easy way of subdividing that. So that's the most common way you'll experience that, but you'll always hear it called out from the tower in a weird, like, you'll never hear like 7/4 or anything like that, but it's always going to be an easily subdivided count in your head that you'll follow in that rhythm. Does that make sense? Okay. Instruments up. I'll go with this one. We're going to do instruments up by the numbers to start off so you see what each position is. So instruments up by the numbers. Katie, instruments up. So by the numbers means that we're going to break it down into subdivisions. So you'll see in this first division, Katie, instruments up. Rest 1 is the vocal response. With that vocal response, your mouthpiece is going to come up to where your eyesight is. So right where your mouthpiece is, that's the top of the mouthpiece. That's where your eyes, that's where your pupils should be laser focused on your mouthpiece in that one position. Sorry, Katie, instruments up. Katie, instruments up. Okay, and that's also pretty painful if you haven't done it in a while, so I apologize. So that is count 2. Katie, instruments up, rest 2. She brings her left arm up to meet her right arm, and Katie, instruments up. She brings her horn up to the plank position. This is going to be based on a perfectly parallel position. Bring it down just slightly. Right there, you want your slide to be parallel to the ground at all times in that instruments up position. Any questions on that instruments up so far? We good? Okay, and then instruments down, it's all one fluid motion. It's not broken down into 3 counts, it's just one instruments down. So Katie, instruments down. Sorry, I didn't finish the clap there. When you do that, your left arm just comes back to that dangled position, just relaxing on your side. Your right arm comes back to that really fixed position on the right. Does that all make sense? Good? Nod, yes? Cool. Thank you. Katie, at ease. Fall out.